Class of 2023 musicians, if you would please join the band. Audience, if you would please stand for the national anthem, the Virgin Islands March, and lift every voice and sing, performed by the Antilles Gale Force Winds, directed by Brendan Reber. be seated. Good evening, families, friends, faculty, staff, trustees, alumni, soon-to-be alumni. Thank you to all who have gathered here today. Thank you to those that are joining us online, and many thanks to those who are here in spirit. I'd like to welcome you to the commencement ceremony to celebrate the Antilles School class of 2023. Head of school. I'm joined on stage by our board president, Sarah Lowenstein, and Kim Blue, director of our school. Before we launch into the program, I would like to just extend a few words of gratitude to those that made this event possible. Special thanks to the committees and crews that transformed this space and developed a program fitting of this class, and to all of my colleagues who contribute to the mission of the school in less visible but purely essential ways. I also thank the trustees who give up their time, their talent, and treasure. It is their leadership and generosity that is foundational to the Antilles present as well as the Antilles of the future. I express appreciation to the adults seated to my right that have held these graduates' hands both literally and figuratively during their time in the classroom, on the field, on the court, on Zoom, teaching and coaching colleagues. At every level, you have given your best to them. I also want to acknowledge the faculty and staff that did not actually teach the students before us, but you also contributed to their education as you contributed to the school culture. You were there for each other and for all of us here to see, love, and support the students. Our job is to create positive experiences and consistency even when the larger world is not predictable. And I would say that we've done that even in more difficult times. And of course, I want to thank the graduates' families, the parents, the grandparents, the extended families, the friend groups, all of you that served as these graduates, cheerleaders, and supporters all along the way. I know that sacrifices and choices were made to partner with us. About a third of this class has spent their entire academic life at Antilles. Classmates have come and gone, and this final collective group is the perfectly unique version of a class of which there will be no other like it. Class of 2023, you completed your graduation requirements before today and have already begun to set out on the path of your next journey. But we've come together tonight as a way to call attention to this important milestone. Gathering is a significant part of the human experience. We gather to mark moments in our lives and to be in community. The purpose of this gathering is often referred to as the closing of one chapter and the opening of another. And I'm sure I said something like that last year. But when I was thinking about what I would say tonight and resisting the urge to consult ChatGPT, I realized that I don't really see it so much that way anymore. It actually feels more like the end of a really good book. One that we don't want to end, but the story that you came to tell has been told. Today is about savoring those last few pages. But because, like a book, we can't easily flip backwards to the favorite part or jump to rewatch the best part of the movie or the show, we take photos and videos and share stories with each other to keep the memories and how we felt in this moment close. But we know that details get lost, memories fade, the retelling isn't always accurate, characters don't live forever, and that explains, at least for me, the sadness and the longing for more time that appears in even a very happy moment. But if your time at Antilles is a book, this has been a very satisfying denouement. You learned, you served, and led. You lived the mission of the school and are an example of how wonderful a community can be.
It is unlikely that in your next story, you will find a community like Antilles, but you shouldn't be looking for what you had here. We're looking to you to create and build community wherever you find yourself. To offer words and inspiration and encouragement is our commencement speaker, Melissa Hayslip. Melissa Hayslip is a Peabody Award-winning, Emmy-nominated filmmaker born in Boston, Massachusetts, who spent much of her childhood in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where her father served as the Commissioner of Education. Melissa attended Yale University and then went on to pursue a career in film. Her work addresses pressing social issues with transformation and empowerment at the core of all of her ideas. Before I turn it over to our guest, I have to tell you that both Melissa and last year's speaker, Brianna Adams, stepped forward as enthusiastic volunteers to be a part of an Antilles commencement. Brianna wanted to mark her 10 years since graduating from Antilles, and through the Majettes, we were connected to Melissa, who was very passionate about the chance to address a St. Thomas graduating class, as she attributes much of her professional success to her experience and foundation received here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I imagine that years from now, many of you may also want to come back for some of those same reasons. And with that, I'd like to welcome Melissa Hayslip to the stage.
Thank you so much. Hey everybody, good evening. Thank you, Shannon Harris, and for the lovely introduction. And thank you to the students, the teachers, the parents, and staff who made these 4 years everything that they were. I also want to thank the head of school, Shannon, of course, and Kim Ballou for having me, and give a special shout out to the parents of Catherine and Wynn Majette for inviting me to speak and making it possible to return to the wonderful island I call home. Yeah. I already know that every one of you has made the impact on the graduates who sit here today. To the class of 2023, hey now. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be with you as part of your special day, to be with you, your teachers, your parents at this moment on this island, on this planet. This is your time. The light shines on you today. I know many of you are as excited, and some of you are kind of anxious as well, and you may have been out late last night partying. But you got here, and that's all that matters. You all worked so hard to get here for the last 4 years. I just got here from New York, but as Shannon was saying, I grew up on the St. Thomas, and we moved here when I was really little. So it's a funny little story. It was Christmas, and I was 5 years old. My father, Dr. Harold Hayslip, had just become the Commissioner of Education for all 3 of the islands. My mom was the general manager at WBNB, Channel 10. And so we were staying at the government guest house in Estate Dorothea until we could find our own house. So my parents, of course, asked me to go play outside so I'd be out of the way of the movers. And so, of course, I couldn't be happier. Went out there, swinging on a gate, hanging out at the end of the driveway. Several neighbors came by to introduce themselves, and they called my dad Commissioner. And I was only too proud to say I was Commissioner Data. I told my new neighbors that we had just moved in and that I was waiting for Santa to come. And more importantly, I was waiting for the snow to come. And it didn't start because, of course, but you know, what's Christmas to a kid without snow? Well, I waited for a long time. The beautiful frangipane petals were fluttering to the ground, and a few red shakers, and those little helicopter things, you know, they were seeding and coming down, but that was it. It never snowed. And I was so confused. I just didn't understand. Soon after that, I We would ride our skateboards down the hill from Sibley to Emancipation Garden, dragging. Why do you keep ruining just one shoe? Well, after that, I went to All Saints, and I had Miss Brady as my principal. But best of all, I went to Antilles summer camp. Woo! Our parents would drop us off at Emancipation Garden, and we'd ride a safari out to Antilles. Of course, everyone would jockey for position for the best seat, which was at the end of the row, you know, if you wanted to look kind of cool. I love my time at Antilles. I love day camp. I love my teachers, my camp counselors, overnight camping at Hull Bay. That gave us a real sense of community. And I always wish that I could go to Antilles during the year, since many of my friends came here after the 6th grade. And we're still friends to this day. But I'm not here to talk about myself. I want to talk about you, graduates. And I just wanted you to know it's such a thrill to be here with you today. I'm beyond honored, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Because it's all about community. And St. Thomas and Antilles are in my DNA. And it's in yours too. And class of 2023, you guys are pretty special. For the past few weeks and months, I've spoken with your teachers, your counselors, and classmates, and first of all, I am amazed just by the fact that there are 40 of you, right? Do you realize? Yes, give it up. Do you realize, like, what a huge accomplishment that is? Yeah, it's really extraordinary. This is a magnificent place that elicits really magical moments and memories. Sometimes your grades don't give an adequate indication of what your greatness might be. So let's take a moment to acknowledge your greatness. Congratulations. Come on, make some noise. Where's the air horn? Is it too early? Thank you. I was going to bring one up here, but I didn't want to like break the sound system. Okay. But the main part really is that colleges have seen what you guys are made of, and they're willing to do whatever they can to get you into school. The sailors have done really well. They're the nation's best sailors. Won USA High School Nationals 2 years ago in 2021. And all the coaches just love their sailing family. And the sailing is amazing. But the friendship, that's next level. You guys have terrific test scores, terrific GPAs. You're just great people. Your college guidance counselor, John Riggle, who, by the way, is literally pure gold,